Much better, Electric Dream says. Okay.
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 So these are some of the things that you have to do because I was trying to get this set up, and well, let me turn this off because.
Okay.
All right.
So let's kind of start from the beginning because we've been talking for 20
Since it's
minutes
only 7:06 right now, so
Yeah.
we only really should have been 6 minutes into the show.
So we can start over.
Yeah.
So it's Friday and we're having fun. Yay!
So we're talking about upgrading our equipment because over the years we've gone through and upgraded our equipment to just go with what technology has going on right now because Phil was on a few weeks ago and he was telling us, taking a look at our stuff, is like every time I come in, y'all have something new. Hey, you have some new technology, you have some new camera. It's like every time I come, you have something new. So he really appreciates that because he said that's a sign of someone who thinks about like what's coming next.
So that's definitely a you thing because you are a technology geek. Like that is one of the things that you geek out about.
The thing is
technology.
not just because it's a geek, because I want the show to be better. In order for it to be better, you need to be able to use some of the new technologies.
But like I wouldn't even know how to make it be better. So, I would just use my cell phone. And like I wouldn't even know how to go about like finding all of these cameras and upgrading from one camera to the next camera. And then when we had problems when we upgraded to the cameras, like knowing how to troubleshoot that.
Yeah, keep talking. I'm just going to change a couple things on
Okay.
my camera because it's kind of off a little bit.
He's just messing with his camera. So there's so many things, and I don't think that people realize how many components there are to running the show. Because one of the things that I can see right off the bat that we're going to have to work on is the lighting. So our lighting is still super basic. Of all the things that we've upgraded, that's not something that we've gotten to yet. So if you saw the video earlier when there was no sound, Vincent was just showing you a lamp. And what he was trying to tell you is, as of right now, for our lighting, we are just using like directional lamps so we can turn them and get the light to bounce off of different things. But because we upgraded to new cameras,
we have other lighting besides that we do some of our other videos with. Like we have like a huge ring light that we got from Newer. And we use that a lot. But that's not something that you can always set up in the show, and it's only just one of them. So a lot of times it's not like financially feasible to like have all these lights, but the lights that we have do just as well.
Well, and one of the things that we've always just used is just like a standing room lamp that has, like the little octopus lamps like you can find at Walmart or whatever, so that it has all the different octopus arms, and you can turn them so that there's some bouncing in Vincent's direction, there's some bouncing in the producer's direction, there's some bouncing in my direction.
Yeah, and some of those have like 3, so you can just like aim them wherever you need to, or if we have a guest, then we can like light up the guest as well. So
that's something that you don't have to spend a lot of money on. You can budget and get these lamps that are inexpensive. The thing that we will say that you do need to spend the money on, if you're going to do it that way, is the bulbs, right? You really need to get the 100-watt daylight bulbs. You need to make sure that it's the daylight bulbs because that's
and you can do them as LED, and they're 100-watt equivalent. They're not actually 100 watts because they're LEDs. You don't need that much energy to do that.
But that's what you're looking for on the package.
Yeah.
So as you can tell, like I'm really shiny right now, and you can see some of the light bouncing off my glasses, which I usually try not to wear my glasses when I'm over on this side because the light does bounce off my glasses a lot. But this is the first time that we're using my new camera.
First time we're using your Well,
for me.
Yeah, for you.
Yeah. We've used this camera a couple of times, the same type of camera for events. So we did kind of have it down for him, sort of, but not exactly. It's complicated. So that's why we wanted to talk about this, because in case people were wondering like where to go or whatever, or what to do, this can be kind of complicated. So we started with like real super basic, like a gaming computer and some 920 cameras. Mm-hmm. And then
the C920 is the Logitech.
Yeah.
So it was the ones right before this one that Colleen's about to show you right now.
And so then we upgraded to these Logitechs, which I don't know if you can see those, but they're pretty nice. And they gave a really good quality. Hey, Steve, happy Friday. Then Vince upgraded to this Razer. And the thing I liked about the Razer is it has its own light embedded on it. So you can kind of adjust some of the lighting for an individual person. So I did kind of like that feature about the Razer camera that he upgraded to. But then he's upgraded to these newest Razers that we have now that I'm using for the first time this week. And what is it called? The Razer
Kaio Pro.
The Razer Kaio Pro. So can you tell everybody a little bit about why you upgraded to this particular camera?
So they're a little bit beefier. There's more processor power in this camera. They're a lot bigger.
The viewing area is bigger, or the like camera.
Well, the camera itself
area is bigger. Yeah.
It's a lot thicker.
And it's supposed to have a better resolution?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it has this one does it at 60 frames per second, whereas the other ones were at 30 frames per second. So the video should be a lot smoother. If you see Colleen,
my hair's messy.
It's very smooth compared to what it was before for 30 frames.
But it's not.
So it's like in 1 second, 30 pictures are taken.
Right.
With the old one. With the new one, 60 pictures are taken. 60 stills in 1 second.
So you can see my pores. It's terrible. Ugh, it's hideous.
Well, that's not even the pore. How crisp it is. It is at HD. It's 1080p. Same. It's just that it does take those pictures a lot faster.
So Electric Dreams is saying that's what they use for their live stream, the C920X. Great cam if you can settle without 4K. And we don't really ever put anything up in 4K, so the Logitechs that we had, I don't know if these new ones do 4K.
Because I don't even think, these don't do 4K.
The Logitechs we had that we got that did the 4K, it didn't even end up being a necessity, or...
But here's the thing, you can't stream 4K.
Okay.
You can't stream it like to YouTube with their settings that they have. They stop it at 1080p.
At 1080p. Okay. So then these Razers, they're 1080. Or do they do like more than that, or?
No, these are 1080p, same as the other ones.
Same as the other ones.
Like I explained before, these shoot faster, so these shoot 60 frames per second, whereas the other Kaios, just the regular Kaios, were 30 frames per second.
But then we got into a problem with, okay, we were upgrading the cameras, which was great.
So like wave your hand in front of the...
Hi.
So when you do that, you won't see the motion blur. Now you do see some on mine because there's some kind of setting that I need to change on mine to fix that.
Oh yeah, I see yours.
But do yours at the same time?
Really, we're more worried about me because I'm the one who's like, and this 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 and this. Vince, you're stiller, so, but it is something that we'll go back and fix later.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the thing is you upgrade to these and then you'll do a show and sometimes you'll do a test and it seems right and then you'll do a show and it still doesn't work out right.
Yeah.
So we'll go back and look at this show because this is our first show with all the new upgrades and we'll see, okay, we should have, in OBS fixed this, on the camera fixed this, in this fixed it, so there's little fixes that you're going to have to make. Once you've upgraded. So don't think that, just because you upgrade, everything's going to look wonderful, like all of a sudden. It's not going to magically look wonderful. Like Vince has to do a lot behind the scenes.
It takes time to get to that.
To make it to where it is. And then, because normally I would be sitting over in a different area of the room and I'm really fair-skinned, and so the light bounces off of me differently. So normally when I sit here in the producer's chair, he has to go into the broadcasting software that we have and like change the saturation and everything so that I don't glow as much. But we had a time constraint today. And so we weren't able to go and fiddle with all of that stuff. So that's why he's distracted, because he's fiddling with all of it now.
Yeah.
Instead of being present on the show. Excuse me.
I'm right here.
Okay, thanks, B. See you later.
Yeah, I'm trying to do little things here and there.
But the other problem was that now we have all these cameras, but now they're not working properly with the computer that we have, right? We're getting laggy.
With this one?
The old one.
Oh, the old one. They were starting to get laggy. They were starting to get laggy because we went from 2 cameras to 3 cameras. And what happens with that is when you have, because they're webcams that we don't use like an HDMI source because we don't have an HDMI capture card for that many cards, for that many cameras. But what happens, there's kind of like a bottleneck when you plug in so many, and I had like 3 different USB cards in the previous computer, which is running right now right beside the old one. But, right beside the new one. So I had 3 cards for that one. So even then, it was still bottlenecking at that point. And that point, we made the determination that we were like, we need to like get a brand new system to see what we can do to make it even better.
And does it bottlenecks because like the motherboard doesn't have enough power, or like what?
It doesn't have enough processing power to do it. So the CPU was too slow.
Okay.
The graphics card was too slow. I think we needed to increase more memory. We did that with the new computer. So one of the things that happened, I was trying to upgrade the old one by sticking a new graphics card in it, but I wanted to check to see what kind of space I had because I also wanted to put another card in there to see if I can do the HDMI capture card in there.
Okay.
So I didn't have space for that, but when I was pulling out the graphics card, I knocked off one of the resistors off the motherboard. So I had to take it in, just like, I can solder, but I'm not going to solder on a motherboard. So I went to go ahead and took it to somebody that knew what they're doing, as Elite Technologies, great company, not too far from here, and really helped me out. Even put I put in another card, another USB 3.0 card into there. He put it in there for me. Really helped me out. Really inexpensive. And I got it back in like 2 days.
Yeah, it was really quick.
It was really quick.
I was surprised when you got it back. I was like, he's done with it already?
And that was because he was waiting for a part to come in.
Yeah. But so even after you did all of that, that really still wasn't pushing the way you wanted it to.
No, no, and that's so I was like, I gotta get something better to do that. So what we kind of did with that is I was starting to look around and kind of like price new PCs. And when I was pricing new PCs, I was looking at them. I even went to like another PC place that I was talking to somebody online with on like Facebook, and he was quoting something for me for about $2,500. And I was like, I don't want to pay $2,500. I was like, that's too much. But you can go through, and if you look, and a lot of people say, oh, don't get parts off of Amazon. I get parts off of Amazon anytime. I haven't had an issue. In fact, I had a really great
good experience with a problem, and they fixed it like right away.
So I started off, I was going through, I was like, well, I was talking to my buddy Steve, and I think Steve is on here right now.
Steve is on there, yeah.
And he was telling me, you know what, I would go for a Ryzen 7. It's an AMD processor, a Ryzen 7 or a Ryzen, not even a 9, but they're way too expensive, and they're not much more faster than a Ryzen 5. So if you get that processor and get a motherboard to go with that processor, because you have to like make sure that processor, you can't, not any processor just fits in any motherboard.
Okay.
There's specific types. So AMD has like an AMD processor, but this one's like an AM4 Plus processor that you put in that board. So the board has to be AM4 Plus in order for you to use this processor that we have.
So what you're saying is if you want to save money, you can, but you need to do some research.
Yeah.
So the first thing is you need to do research. You need to talk to other people who've built computers. You need to look on forums. You need to read about different processors and motherboards and make sure that you know what goes together.
And there's like a PC configurator app that you can get on your phone, and it'll go through, you add what kind of processor you want, and then you'll have, once you select that, you'll have a selection of motherboards that work with that processor.
So Electric Dreams is asking you, what is the name of that company in San Antonio again that was really helpful?
Elite Technologies. It's on Culebra.
Okay. I'm just going to put it in the chat so people can see that.
It's right there close to where Rocky J's used to be.
And then Steve is saying Ryzen 5s are extremely popular because they have great performance for what their cost is. And I'm guessing the 5's cost is going down a little bit since they are getting like a 7 and a 9, so they're trying to push
the 5's you can get like under $200.
Now, was this something that you were able to find on an Amazon Prime deal? Because they just had their Prime days, so I know that that was one thing you were...
They didn't have those on sale on Prime Day.
So, but you were looking,
I was
that's
looking.
Another thing that
because I was
people
looking
can
at that, and I was looking at motherboards. So with the motherboard, what I did with that, I got an Asus X570 Plus Wi-Fi. So this one has Wi-Fi on board, so you don't have to get like a Wi-Fi card in addition to that.
Right, right. You were pretty impressed with that.
Yeah,
I didn't know
so
what that
I'm just
meant,
like, oh yeah, that's cool.
very cool. Yeah.
Well, like, you know how we used to get like the Wi-Fi cards?
Yes.
Or you had like a USB that you would plug into like a
that you had to plug in and it would catch the...
This one comes on the motherboard.
Okay.
And it has like a little antenna that you can like...
So I will say something that's really cool from like a non-tech geek kind of person. So Vincent always, a lot of the times has a hard time when he's putting the computers together towards the end because his fingers are a little bit bigger, a little bit manlier, meatier, and mine are a little bit longer and skinnier. So a lot of the times he'll come ask me to like plug stuff in, right? And so we're there.
And the thing is, you have to have like the orientation just like perfect to get some of the things in, because some of the cables that come with like the power supply, they don't give you much play in them.
No.
If they had a little more play, like half an inch of more play,
Uh-huh.
it would be easily to put it in.
It was so difficult to get this power supply in because it's an 8-prong, but it's separated into two 4-prongs, and so you've got to get the 1 4-prong like on, but not on, because then the other one's like kind of sticking out like this, and you've got to turn the wire and get it to stand up straight while this one's on, and then plug the other 4-prong on, and then try to push them down at the same time. It was so annoying. But then we were looking for like what to do with the VGA and everything. And so one of the nice things I liked is if you've ever worked on cars, which I've helped work on cars before, if you've ever put together IKEA furniture, like if you've read any kind of schematic, like the nice thing about this computer, and the motherboard and the tower and everything, they came with schematic booklets.
Yeah.
So, and it has numbers. And so it basically says, so if you can read and match up numbers, now maybe you can't get your fingers in there to like plug things in.
But yeah. And I dealt with the things that I've never dealt with before because I've built computers before.
Yeah.
I've built
watched
several, like I've built like maybe 10 of them throughout my life so far. But the thing about it is there's some technologies that I've never dealt with. This is the first time I ever dealt with a M.2 drive. And what it is, it looks like a stick of memory, but it's an SSD hard drive.
I know, when you told me that was the hard drive, so he calls me in here and he's like, check this out, feel this. And I'm like feeling it, and I'm like, yeah, it's really light. Like I thought it was memory. And he's like, that's the hard drive. And I said, no, that's not the hard drive. The hard drive, like I'm explaining it to him, right? I'm like,
She's
no.
woman-splaining it to
I was woman-splaining it. I'm like, no, the hard drive is that like rectangular thing, you know, that looks like it has like the thing on it with the circle, and it has all the, and he's like, no, this is now the hard drive. And I'm like, what? Like my mind was blown. And I know that technology takes leaps and bounds, but just to go from something that like is very heavy and you can feel this hard drive brick, right? And I knew what a hard drive was, like seeing it. And then for him to show me this thing that I was certain was just a memory stick, and for him to tell me that that was a hard drive, I was like, that's interesting.
We've come a long way.
Yeah, that's like a jump in what we've got going. So Rukia1216 says they have an Asus gaming computer that they only ever used for work. And so I asked them if they like the Asus, and they said the Asus is amazing.
Yeah. So the thing about Asus is...
Oh no, and Electric Dreams says they still have close to $1,500 worth of components, and they haven't built the system yet. They're missing a graphics card. They got most of their info from researching Reddit and YouTube.
Yeah.
So we thought we weren't going to need a graphics card at first, but then to put the VGA in, you really needed a separate graphics card because you were just going to go with the embedded graphics.
I was going to go with the embedded graphics to just see if it was going to work, so I didn't have to like spend a bunch of money all at once.
Right.
But I was like, it's not working. So what I did is I went in, and my old PC, pulled the graphics card out of there, put it in my new PC, booted right up, could see everything, so I could like install Windows at that point. So let me go back for a little bit.
Okay.
So motherboard. So I was going through just like, where can I find a good motherboard? Now the motherboard that I got is probably around like $250 around there. But here's what I do, which people freak out when I do this. I go through and look to see if there's any open box or used stuff.
We always do that.
I've always did that.
Always. We started very like young and with very little money, and it's something that we learned how to do. And even though we have more, we're doing better now, obviously, and have a little bit more money and no kids to raise anymore.
But I still don't want to spend the money.
I don't want to spend the money when I can get an open box when somebody
Because everybody's telling me, oh, you should get a 3060 and do all this. I was just like, I don't want to pay that much money. Because you start looking at those graphics cards start hitting $1,000 sometimes. From like $600 to $1,000. So the one that I got, which is it's a funny thing. I did everything Asus Tough on here. So I got an Asus Tough case.
Yeah.
It's an Asus Tough motherboard.
Yeah.
And I got an Asus Tough graphics card. So the motherboard, the case that you put the motherboard in and all the components, and the graphics card, every single one of those were used.
Yeah. And here's the thing.
Off of Amazon.
Scott Kroom says, my first hard drive was 20 megabytes, and the guy told me I could never fill it up. Now I work with Photoshop files over 200 megabytes. LOL.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Rukia said they got the Asus laptop purely because the keyboard lit up. And then Electric Dream says, yeah, I picked up my mouse and keyboard for the RGB too. Yeah, well, Vince has got a razor on his for the RGB also.
But here's another thing with that one.
But it was on clearance at Walmart.
We found it on we found the keyboard on clearance, on super clearance.
Super huge clearance. We were like, shut up, this can't be the real price. Like, they can't price it, because we looked it up on Amazon and other places.
I think we found it for like $30.
It was $30 and it was a $100 keyboard. So we were like,
we paid more for so we picked that up and we're looking, oh yeah, well there's a mouse there, but it was still expensive. So I go online.
Was like $50. Yeah.
I go online and end up getting a mouse for like $35.
Yep.
And it came in and it's all synced and turning all pretty and stuff.
So the nice thing about Amazon, I will say this, I've never had problems. I know people have complained before, but so everything is open box. So when Vincent gets in the case, it doesn't have any of the screws.
So yeah, didn't have any of the screws, and I hadn't gone through and like looked through and see if I needed them because I hadn't gotten all the components yet together. So what I did is when I started putting it together, I was like, oh, well, I need to go get those screws. I can't find them now. So I go over to Altex. I go to Altex. I have to buy a pack of like 50 screws because you're supposed to have like 25. It was supposed to come with like 25 screws.
Yeah.
Even though you don't need all of them for the motherboard, but you can use them for like drives and stuff like that.
Right.
Which I'm not using any of those drives to do that.
That's all these, right?
That's all those.
Yeah. He's still got
and
them
then some.
So.
There's still some in the bag.
He's still got them all sitting over here like all spilled out.
But it's all in its place. I like the little thing that we got from the Container Store.
Yeah, but you're thinking, okay, so it's just a few screws. It's not a big deal, right?
Yeah. It was $10
for the screws. So you thought, no big deal. But then he thought, well, you know what? I'm gonna say something to Amazon.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna let them know, and like maybe I can just get a credit for the $10 or something.
And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go through, and I went and contacted just through text, just through the messaging system on Amazon, and they were looking at it, and I was like, oh, well, it looks like we can give you a complete refund.
They refunded him the whole case. And didn't ask him to send the case back. Let him keep the case.
So I ended up getting like $75 back.
I was in shock. Like, we weren't expecting that. Like, okay, fine. We would have taken the refund for the screws.
Yeah, yeah. I thought they were like, oh, yeah. I was like, oh, we'll give you 20% off, 10% off, or $10. I was like, I'll be fine with $10. They're like, no, we're just going to refund the whole thing for you. Because they don't want to like spend money to ship it back to them. To
ship it and then
because it's so heavy. Yeah. That one is so heavy.
And I thought for sure they would just give you the credit. So we have not ever had these problems with Amazon. Now we don't, we shop from Amazon a lot. And unless there's a problem, we don't really cry wolf or say anything. So, I know some other people may have had some problems, but I think if you're always saying something and something's always lost,
if something isn't working, I just return it. Yeah, even if it's like open box or it's a used thing, they'll still take it.
Yeah.
Well, except this, they didn't take it, but they gave me all the money for it.
Yeah. They were like, that's fine.
So I was like, yay.
So then you were like, well, since I have $75 now, I'm gonna buy a new.
So at that point, I hadn't even thought about getting a graphics card. In fact, I was talking to Steve, and I just like, he was like, well, he was getting a new graphics card and he was upgrading his, and he said, well, yeah, I'll go ahead and sell you mine or whatever. And I stopped thinking about it, and I didn't want him to go through the hassle, and I wanted to get a graphics card so I could play with my computer. So
sorry, Steve.
I had the money, and then I had like I have the Prime card, so I have like the rewards. So I had like $65 in that. So I was like, I put all of that towards the graphics card.
Yeah.
So I think I ended up only paying like $150 for the graphics card.
And the other thing that we paid close to retail on, but not exactly retail, was the power supply. Vince
Power
thought
supply
he had
was
an
on
extra power supply here, but we didn't have it.
Yeah.
And so it was on sale.
It was on sale, and this is, and I didn't think Colleen was going to talk me into this, but the thing about this power supply is you have a 7-year warranty on it.
Right. So we went with the one that was, because there was one that was 50 and then there was one that was 80. And the one that was 80 has the 7-year warranty on it. So I was like, okay, well, what about the one that's 50? Because it's only a $30 difference if you really think about it. That's not even a tank of gas anymore, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, this one has a 1-year warranty and that's it. I'm like, okay, so basically in 1 year this could poop out and we could need to spend $50 again, though that's $100. Whereas if we spend the 80 now and we have the 7-year warranty, then we have it for 7 years, so it's less than $10 a year if you think about it that way. And so when we looked at it that way, we were like, oh, well, okay, that makes more sense,
right?
Like financially. So sometimes when you're upgrading, it's even things like that, is looking at the company, seeing what the warranty is, looking at the reviews for the products and seeing like, hey, okay, this one is on sale for $30 or whatever, but it only has 3-star reviews and everything recent is saying had to return it. Okay, we'll just like, don't go with that, right?
So we paid full price on that. We paid full price.
It was like 10% off or something.
We paid full price on the memory.
Yes.
And those are like rip jaws, and you kind of have to like look at what your motherboard can support. And what I tried to do is get the fastest memory RAM sticks that I can find for that motherboard. So
sometimes Vincent will get a little out of control with technology and spending. He likes to spend. He's a spendy kind of guy. So I have a big question for him that I have not asked yet. And so y'all are going to be the first ones to hear this question and see what his response is.
Okay.
Okay. So you said at the beginning of the show that somebody offered to build you a PC for $2,500. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So with all the full price memory that you've done and all the power supply and everything like that, where do you think you're at approximately?
About $750.
$750. Really? Okay, I'm kind of impressed. I didn't think it would be that low. That's pretty good, actually. I'm really kind of impressed.
Yeah. and that's the thing. And here's the thing with that as well. So everybody gets scared about, well, Windows costs like almost $200 if you get it retail. So the thing is, I can go through and you can get OEM versions, and you just get the key and you download from Microsoft itself the installation files to be able to do that. So I have a memory. Not a memory, but I have a flash drive, a jump drive, a thumb drive that I can plug in, that I can install it, and then I just put in my product key.
Is that legal?
Yes. So what's happening is when you have an OEM version, the Windows works for just that PC. You can't install on anything else.
Okay.
If you buy retail, you can install it on whatever you want to because you own that license to do with whatever as you please. So, but when you saw an OEM version, it's original manufacturer's something,
whatever,
like that.
I don't know what it stands for.
Something like that. So what I did with that, I went to, I think it's called CJS CD keys.com. geek.com, and you can get a Windows 10 Pro for like $12.
And where can they get that from?
CJS CD Keys.
CJS CD Keys.
Mm-hmm.
And that's legal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, if you say so. And so then you went to Microsoft. Like, you go to Microsoft on another computer that's working and download these install files, and then you have to bring it over to this computer. Okay.
You put it, you install it into not install it, but you put the files. It's the media creation creates the files that you need on the flash drive. Mm-hmm. So when you put it in your computer, you need to make sure you're booting to that flash drive, and then it starts the process of installing Windows for you.
And I don't know how to do all that.
And then it just asks for your product key, and you just put it in, and I've taken all the updates. So I bought a Windows 10 because you don't know. Steve was telling me, well, I heard some things about your motherboard that it doesn't necessarily take Windows 11 right off. You have to like do weird stuff. So maybe you should do Windows 10, and they're still doing the upgrade for Windows 11 if you have Windows 10. So I was just like, yeah, you're right. I'll probably go ahead and do that. So I downloaded it. I got the key. I got the key in like maybe 3 minutes, maybe less than 3 minutes.
Okay.
It generates a key for you. I saved it and I hid it somewhere and printed it out. So I have it like 3 different places.
Just
so I don't just in case. But I've taken all my updates for 10, and then I went to Windows 11, and this is what we're on right now.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because my PC before, I couldn't even get to Windows 11. It's not even a Ryzen processor in that computer.
Right. Well, that computer we got in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So really, when you think about technology, that's 4 years old. That's pretty old as far as technology goes.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, we got our use out of that one, but we can still use it for other things.
Oh my God, he's always wanting to turn everything into a Linux machine.
No, I'm not going to turn this into a Linux machine.
Okay, good.
No.
I'm so tired of everything has to become a Linux machine until it sits around and becomes obsolete. We have a graveyard of technology at our house.
We have a lot of technology here.
There's a graveyard, like.
And there's stuff that you just find and you just lost for me recently.
Yeah. Well, because I get tired of the graveyard and then I put things away in a logical place.
That's not logical.
It's not logical. At the time it seems logical and then it's not, and so then it goes bye-bye, and then, yeah. I don't know. So the last thing real quick before we go, because we only have a couple of minutes left, the last thing when we're talking about upgrading, I just wanted you to kind of let all the viewers know about what you use to stream, because it's not like you just have a computer and stuff and then you have cameras and lights and you magically stream. Like, you have to have some kind of software to kind of put all of this together to stream. So what is it that you're using?
So right now we're using OBS, Open Broadcast Software.
Right, and we used that before.
Yeah.
And then you tried to upgrade.
So because I upgrade to XSplit.
Okay.
So I think you pay for like a yearly subscription, or you could have paid for like a lifetime subscription, but I was just like, I didn't really like it as much when it came down to it, and it really didn't seem to do as much as OBS Studio was starting to do. And the thing about OBS Studio is free. You don't have to pay for it at all.
He taught me how to use it so that I can do it for my teaching videos and stuff. So I can make videos for my students and for other teachers and things like that. And so
because
I did a video.
It's not just a streaming or a broadcasting, you can record too with it. So
and so I can record, and then I can also record the screen, so we can show the screen as well. And then so I really like OBS, so that's what we use to kind of tie all of this together.
The one thing that XSplit did really well was doing the like Skype. Like when you had somebody Skype into the show. You were able to bring
COVID and everything.
You were able to bring that in very easily. I still have not figured out an easy way to get us to hear what they're saying. We always had, we did some weird stuff with like splitters and stuff like that to get it working, but
you're always figuring.
And then we have to like sit in the same place, but yeah, I have like connectors everywhere. Everywhere. But we have like we even have like a mixer. We've recently upgraded a mixer, and we have the Zoom Live Track L8, and you have like 8 different inputs on that one.
And then we have Boya. Is the type of microphones that we have, and the receiver and everything. It's called Boya. So Boya. No.
And then we upgraded those to the Boya Pros.
And then there's the new mics.
And then we have new mics too, which that we use with the Boya Pros, which are Rode.
So unfortunate that y'all couldn't hear us at the very beginning, but things were like not configured properly because we've upgraded so much. That sometimes things get lost in the shuffle. So, but it's all good. Sort of now. We'll have to configure it and do some more tests during the week until we get to next week's show. But hopefully this was good and this was better, and y'all got to see some of us and got to hear some about technology and how we kind of upgrade on a budget.
What I'm going to go ahead and do is try to update the description information with all the links to the different components that we purchased. And you can see how we built our system. Hopefully you can find some used parts like us and get a good deal. Maybe you get a better deal than we did.
Oh, yeah.
Who knows? Exactly. And if you need help, we figured it out, so we'll let you know.
Yeah. And you can always check out YouTube videos as well. It's really good. Just
and I pulled out all the other USB cards except one, because one didn't go over to the other board because it didn't have that type of connection anymore. But yeah, it's working great. I got it earlier today with 5 different cameras on this one system running at the same time.
It's crazy.
So it's a lot better. But thanks for checking this out. I really appreciate it.
We have one more thing that we have to do.
What's that?
Today is a special day. You know what today is?
Zach's birthday.
Today is our son's birthday.
Yeah.
So, hi Zach. Happy birthday, sweet boy. We love you. He's our middle child, and he's 26 years old. So, just wanted to say happy birthday to our Zach. Okay.
Yeah, happy birthday, and thanks for checking this out. I'm Vince.
I'm Colleen.
Geek out, SA.